My House of Horrors Chapter 831–840. The people who had come from the lab had already entered the stairwell. They seemed to have sensed something and headed straight for the toilet on the top floor. They did not stop at all. Let's go. Chen Ge carried Wang Yicheng on his back, and the group ran down the corridor to the other side. They hid in the corridor and held their breath. Mr. Bai, why did you stop? You guys keep an eye on the third floor stairwell. I'll stay on the fourth floor side. After making sure they've all gone up to the fourth floor, we'll go down. Chen Ge was very brave. He stood on the side of the corridor and used his yin-yang vision to look at the toilet. But, just do as I say. Chen Ge stood alone at the stairwell on the right and looked to the left. After about 10 seconds, he could clearly hear footsteps coming from the left corridor, and then a few people in white clothes appeared on the fourth floor. Such strange attire. All white. Even their shoes are white. Quote. There were 3 people who came up the stairs. Other than the fact that they were all dressed in white, there was another strange thing about them: all of them had scars on their faces. Not just 1 or 2 scars, but like Zhang Ju, half of their faces were burned, and they looked quite scary. Are they the school's administrators? After Chen Ge saw them enter the toilet, he led the other students down the stairs, perfectly avoiding them. Sir, where are we going next? We'll find a chance to go to the eastern campus. Chen Ge's voice was urgent. The people in white gave him a lot of pressure. Wait, why are you guys so nervous? It's like we're doing something shady. Zhou Tu looked at the nervous Chen Ge and the other members, and he was rather speechless. We're students, and Mr. Bai is a teacher. Even if the school sees us, at most, they'll scold us. At most, they'll have to pay for the autopsy table in the lab. It won't cost much. Do you still think we'll only be criticized by the school after we've been caught? Chen Ge stared into Zhou Tu's eyes. The boy avoided his gaze, not daring to meet Chen Ge's eyes. You'll understand when you get to the eastern campus. Chen Ge led the students away from the teaching building and slowly approached the sports equipment room next to the teaching building along a quiet path. Professor, aren't we going to the eastern campus? What are you doing in the sports equipment room? Quote. I need to look for tools. Wang Yicheng, Zhou Tu, you two stay outside to keep a lookout. The rest of you, come in with me. If you see anything like a rope, grab it. Chen Ge pried open the door of the sports equipment room and found many ropes for skipping. Teacher, those people seem to be coming towards us. Zhou Tu's voice came from outside the door. He saw a few white shadows running out from the education block and heading toward them. Impossible. How did they know we were in the sports equipment room? If it was an accident that he went to the toilet on the top floor of the teaching building, how did he know that I was in the sports equipment room? Quote. Chen Ge had a bad feeling. He pulled up the zipper of his backpack. Since there were too many things inside, the backpack was bulging, and he could only carry it in his hands. The sports equipment room is big enough for them to search for quite some time. Let's retreat for now. Chen Ge carried the backpack with one hand and then waved at Wang Yicheng. Come, I'll carry you. Chen Ge was being kind, but this time, Wang Yicheng rejected him. He shook his head, and his eyes were filled with fear like a child who had a nightmare. Sir, I'm very afraid. I can hear someone calling my name. The people behind us seem to be coming for me. I can hear their voices. You can hear someone calling your name. When did it start? Chen Ge did not give Wang Yicheng the chance to resist. Time was tight, and he could not afford to waste time. He forced Wang Yicheng to carry him on his back. We'll talk as we move. Sir, those people are coming for me. If you carry me, they will definitely find us. Wang Yicheng's face was twisted, and his body was shaking. Stop wasting time. You're my student, so you only need to answer my questions. Chen Ge picked up his pace, but he was very curious about what Wang Yicheng had to say. When I was brought to the top floor of the education block, I suddenly felt very uncomfortable. For some reason, I felt like crying. That corridor felt very familiar, like something bad had happened there before. Wang Yicheng's eyes were red and swollen like a fish that had been tossed onto the shore. Even his breathing became difficult. Aren't you a new student? Why do you feel like that corridor is so familiar? Quote. I don't know. Sometimes, when we come to a new place, it feels like we've been there before. That's what I'm feeling now. Wang Yicheng's voice was intermittent, and his face was frighteningly white. What's with that voice? Why did it suddenly appear? What did he tell you? Chen Ge asked softly. When I saw the corridor, I suddenly felt uncomfortable. When we reached the door of the toilet, an image flashed across my mind. Wang Yicheng took a deep breath, and after a long pause, he said, "It seems like I've been to this toilet before a long time ago. I was responsible for luring someone important into the toilet. His small body stood inside the toilet, and the toilet was filled with various monsters. It was because of this that I tried my best to stop you when you entered the toilet." Quote. Wait a minute. Chen Ge keenly noticed a detail in Wang Yicheng's words. You were responsible for luring someone important to you into the toilet. Yes, that person seems to be my best friend. I understand that feeling because there are not many people who are willing to be my friend, and he is the only exception. Wang Yicheng hit his head heavily. His memory seemed to have started to slip. When we reached the door of the toilet, his voice appeared in my mind. He was calling my name. I'm sure it was him. But I just can't remember who he is. Quote. Is his name Lin Sisi? Chen Ge whispered the name, Lin Sisi, into Wang Yicheng's ear. Once the name left his lips, Wang Yicheng's body started to shake violently. His arms that were wrapped around Chen Ge's neck tightened, and Chen Ge found it hard to breathe. I didn't mean it, they forced me to do it. I'm sorry. We're still best friends. Wang Yicheng screamed with his eyes closed. His voice was pitiful, like he suddenly found a ghost standing next to his bed in the middle of the night. Calm down. Wang Yicheng's sudden mental breakdown was something that no one expected. This would only attract more trouble. Chen Ge tossed him off and aimed a palm strike at the man's neck artery. Mr. Bai. The other students were given a fright. Shut up. I'm trying to save him. Chen Ge tried a few more places before Wang Yicheng fainted. Mental disorder will cause serious damage to the brain. The best solution I can think of is to make him temporarily stop thinking. Looking at the fainted Wang Yicheng, Chen Ge could not calm down for a long time. He had obtained a very important piece of information from what Wang Yicheng had said earlier. The person who lured Lin Sisi into the toilet was Wang Yicheng. I didn't expect the key person to be by my side. Chen Ge was thankful that even after he entered the world behind the door, he still maintained his kind nature. When he first met Wang Yicheng, he did not think too much about it. He saw that the man was alone, and he wanted to help him change his situation. In reality, he had done that. Wang Yicheng now had several new friends, and none of them would bully him or look down on him. Through the words that Wang Yicheng said when he lost his mind, Chen Ge had a general idea of what had happened. Both Wang Yicheng and Lin Sisi lived in room 413. Due to various reasons, they were not that popular. Due to their different personalities, the way they dealt with their classmates was different as well. Wang Yicheng chose to endure it silently. Lin Sisi, on the other hand, came up with many ideas to attract everyone's attention. These two could not be considered friends, they were just a group of bullied people. The students hated Lin Sisi, so they decided to dress up as ghosts and prank Lin Sisi in the toilet on the top floor of the education block to get back at him. To trick Lin Sisi, they found Wang Yicheng, who had a good relationship with Lin Sisi. Chen Ge had no idea how they managed to convince Wang Yicheng, but he knew that the final result was that Wang Yicheng had agreed to help the students. Wang Yicheng had his own problems, but it was him who had pushed Lin Sisi toward the cliff. Faster. Before Wang Yicheng wakes up, we have to lose the people behind us. Quote. Chen Ge was very careful. He went to a few more places and sighed in relief when he realized the people in white did not follow them. The atmosphere at the western campus slowly became abnormal. The number of people in white increased. Chen Ge did not stay any longer and led the members to the trash disposal center. Mr. Bai, are those people in white also the school's teachers? How come I've never seen them before? Also, why were they chasing us just now? Zhu Long had a lot of questions to ask. They are not teachers. They are the administrators who maintain the order of the western campus. As for why they have been chasing us, Chen Ge placed the unconscious Wang Yicheng on the grass. Because of him and because of you. Us. Yes, this school is not as simple as you think. If we compare it to the human brain, then the western campus is the place that deals with all kinds of positive emotions, and the eastern campus is responsible for negative emotions and trash. Chen Ge used a very common metaphor to explain, there are only good memories in the western campus, and all the trash has to be sent to the eastern campus, but how can people only have good memories? So, we've forgotten a lot of our memories. Zhang Ju was very clever. Before Chen Ge finished, he understood what Chen Ge was getting at. That's right. What you've forgotten are all memories filled with despair. These things are treated as trash by the Western campus. Once your memories are loosened or awakened, they'll send you to the Eastern campus. Chen Ge said seriously, now that you know the truth, are you still willing to continue searching for your memories? I'm willing. Zhu Long agreed without hesitation. This feeling of not being able to remember something that happened is too hard to bear. If this continues, I'll go crazy. I'd rather remember everything. I also want to know what kind of memory I've lost. The lack of memory makes me feel incomplete, like I'm a monster. Zhangju's finger touched the scar on his face. His eyes were complicated, and it was hard to tell what he was thinking. You've really lost your mind. He's really crazy. Zhou Tu kept mumbling. He was like a mouse that had been trapped in a cage, pacing back and forth on the spot. No refusal means yes. Chen Ge helped Wang Yicheng up from the ground. Actually, there is another benefit to us going to the Eastern campus now. The people who are after us want to send us there, but they won't expect that we've already run to the Eastern campus on our own. What's the difference? If we go there on our own, we can still maintain our human appearance. If we're captured and sent there, I'm afraid you'll forget even more things. Chen Ge comforted the club members. The Eastern campus is not as scary as you think. As long as we're careful, we'll be fine. Carrying Wang Yicheng, Chen Ge opened the door to the Western campus's trash disposal center. The room was very clean, completely different from the one on the Eastern campus. Don't touch anything here, and don't get close to the doors that are used to sort the trash. Chen Ge did not know whether there were any managers at the Western campus's trash disposal center, so he distributed some ropes to the students. There is a small window on the second floor. In a bit, I'll climb up the wall from the window. Watch how I do it, and just follow my lead. What about Wang Yicheng? Tie him up with the rope. After I climb up the wall, you guys work together to push him out from the window, and I'll pull him up to the wall. Wang Yicheng was short and thin, and he was not that heavy. This was good news for Chen Ge. Be careful. After we get to the second floor, do as I say, and you have to be fast. After distributing the ropes, Chen Ge personally tied Wang Yicheng up. He tied another rope to himself and Wang Yicheng before carrying him to the second floor. After confirming that there was no one on the second floor, Chen Ge did not look too closely and headed for the window. Opening the window, Chen Ge very skillfully climbed up the wall by stepping on the windowsill. What are you waiting for? Hand Wang Yicheng over. Quote. There was a rope tied to him, and the other end was tied to Wang Yicheng. Mr. Bai, are you a physical education teacher? Zhang Ju was the first to react. He picked up Wang Yicheng and was about to push him out the window. This is the second floor. Be careful. Zhu Long and Zhou Tu also started to help. The three of them worked together to push Wang Yicheng out. After a lot of effort, Chen Ge finally managed to get Wang Yicheng to the top of the wall. He was one of the key figures that night, so Chen Ge would not leave him behind. Sitting on the wall again, Chen Ge's mood was completely different from before. He untied the rope on him and crawled on the wall to make room for the other students. Move faster. Chen Ge held Wang Yicheng and found a few gaps between the bricks on the wall. He tied the rope into them. The next time they wanted to go from the Eastern campus to the Western campus, they would not need to go through the trash disposal center anymore. They could just use the rope that he had left behind. The group used about 10 minutes to jump to the Eastern campus. For the students from the Western campus, the Eastern campus was a completely unfamiliar place. On the second day of registration, I was chased by a teacher and had to jump over the wall to escape. This is completely different from the university life that I imagined. Zhou Tu patted the dirt off his body and untied the rope around his waist. There might be more things that you can't imagine later. Chen Ge tugged on the rope that he had tied to the wall and hid it behind the ivy. Even if someone walked past, they would not notice it unless they looked closely. This rope is my escape route. When he left the Eastern campus, Chen Ge was alone, but when he returned, he had become the leader of a club. Sir, did you notice anything wrong? Zhang Ju straightened his body, and the eyes that were hidden behind the scar slowly widened. What's wrong? Perhaps I'm more sensitive. I feel like the air on this side of the wall is more viscous and wet. There is a strange smell to it, like it's been drenched in blood. Zhang Ju used the calmest tone to say the strangest thing. He slowly opened his lips, and the tip of his tongue licked the scar on his upper lip. His eyes were filled with confusion and confusion. Compared to the Western campus, this place feels more familiar to me. Are you kidding me? Are you familiar with the smell of blood? Zhou Tu originally thought that Zhangju was ugly, but he was quite normal. After hearing what he said, Zhou Tu had a new understanding of Zhangju. I'm not kidding. It's true. Zhangju turned to Chen Ge. Chen Ge stood where he was with a smile on his face. You're not mistaken. This is the perfect place to cultivate sweet dreams. In the world behind the door, only dead bodies and blood as fertilizer can grow into beautiful flowers. Chen Ge carried Wang Yicheng on his back and signaled for Zhangju to follow behind him. I'll bring you somewhere first. Be careful, don't make too much noise. The darkness of the night became their best camouflage as they walked through the untended shrubs. Along the way, Chen Ge led Zhangju to where the female ghost was hiding in the tree hole. Does this place look familiar? Chen Ge pointed at the tree hole that hid the female ghost's head in the surrounding trees. I think we've been here before. By the way, isn't this the crime scene where the girl was killed? We saw it in the western campus. Why is there an identical scene in the eastern campus? Zhou Tu's eyes widened. Even the location of the tree hole and the angle of the opening were identical. The murder scene on the western campus is just an empty shell. The dead body and the deceased soul are hidden on the eastern campus. What you are seeing now is the real crime scene. When Chen Ge said that, Zhangju seemed to be attracted by something. He stood alone next to the tree hole, and his shoulders were shaking. Zhangju. As if he couldn't hear Chen Ge's voice, he slowly squatted down and knelt beside the tree hole, his hands trembling as he reached into the tree hole. Hey, are you crazy? I remember that the girl's head was found in that hollow tree. Why did you put your hand in there? Quote. Zhou Tu wanted to grab Zhangju, but he was stopped by Chen Ge. Don't disturb him. His memory is hidden inside the tree hole. We have to dig out the things that he has lost. Dig it out. You've really lost your mind. Zhou Tu was not as strong as Chen Ge, so he was unable to struggle free. He could only stand to the side and watch. Kneeling on the ground, Zhangju crawled next to the tree hole. His eyes were glued to the dark hole as his hands slowly reached into the hole. His body continued to tremble, and sweat stuck to the scars on his face like falling tears. Nothing. Why not? Why not? Impossible. Zhangju did not feel anything. His voice came intermittently like he was so nervous that he was having trouble breathing. I saw it with my own eyes. I saw him hide the thing inside the tree hole with my own eyes. How could it not be? Quote. His fingers scratched at the soil and tree trunk until his nails started to bleed, but Zhangju did not feel any pain. His expression was twisted as he dug madly into the bottom of the tree hole. Zhangju, are you looking for this? Chen Ge took out a rusty cleaver from his backpack. This cleaver was the possession of the woman in the tree hole. After the shadow consumed the woman, it was found deep inside the tree hole. Initially, Chen Ge wanted to use the cleaver to protect himself, so he did not think too much about it. The surroundings suddenly became quiet, and everyone's eyes were focused on the cleaver. I found this cleaver inside the tree hole. The victim's crazed soul is residing in this cleaver. Chen Ge placed the cleaver before Zhangju. Pick it up. Can you remember your past? Zhangju was about to break down. His arms shook harder and harder, and his pupils twitched. Isn't it familiar? Have you seen this cleaver somewhere else before? Who was holding the knife at that time, and whose neck did the knife end up in? Chen Ge's words were like nails piercing into Zhangju's mind. His shaking hands reached for the cleaver, and when his fingertips touched the handle, his expression changed. His pupils narrowed, and his mouth fell open like he had touched a burning iron. Before Zhangju could scream, Chen Ge had already clamped his hand over Zhangju's mouth. It's fine. Those things are in the past. They are just your past. As he comforted Zhangju, Chen Ge's eyes were glued to Zhangju's hand that held the cleaver. If the man made any movement to swing, he would press him down immediately. Zhangju's strength was much greater than Chen Ge had expected, and as his memory loosened, his strength continued to grow. This child was not a normal ghost. Just as Chen Ge was about to lose control of Zhangju, the man finally calmed down. Chen Ge let go, and Zhangju knelt to the ground. His lips were stuck to the dirt, and the scar on his face was particularly glaring. I remember something. Zhangju stared at his broken fingernails. That day was Senior's birthday. A girl wanted to confess to Senior, but Senior already had a girlfriend, so he asked me to reject the girl on his behalf. When I arrived at the rendezvous, I did not see the girl, so I kept waiting. Then I heard some movement in the forest, so I sneaked over, and I saw someone holding this cleaver. The girl was still struggling, but I did not dare go out. I was scared out of my wits. I had not seen so much blood before. His fingernails dug into the dirt, and the scars on Zhangju's face squeezed together. If I had stepped forward, perhaps the girl would not have died. Guilt and self-blame tormented Zhangju. He gripped the cleaver tightly. When I went back to call the police, the people had already escaped. I have no idea whether they were caught or not, but I saw one of them look very familiar. The second night, we drank a lot, and then we went karaoke. Then there was a fire, and I was sent to the hospital. What happened after that? Zhangju slapped his head. What happened after that? How come I don't have any memory of what happened after that? Quote. You were sent to the hospital, and your memory stopped there. Chen Ge already knew about Zhangju's past. I could see the fire spreading, and it was burning faster and faster. The smoke was thick, and there were screams and wails everywhere. I couldn't open my eyes, and I wanted to run out, but once I opened the door, the fire rushed into the room. Zhangju collapsed to the ground, and veins popped on his forehead. The scar on his face was quivering. I don't know where the pain came from, but I tried my best to rush out. I couldn't catch my breath, and my eyes couldn't see anything. In the end, I fainted in the corridor. I could vaguely feel someone lifting me up. At the time, I was still conscious. Fingers that were stained with dirt and blood reached into his hair. Zhangju used his elbow to support his body. I should have been sent to the hospital. I could vaguely hear the conversation between my parents and the doctor. I wanted to open my eyes, but when I did, I saw a completely dark world. It was like everything had been burnt. Zhangju's voice slowly returned to normal. He collapsed to the ground. I can remember my parents' faces and the doctors and nurses who took care of me, but I can't remember how I woke up from the coma, and I can't remember how I ended up at this school. Is there a possibility that you've never woken up, and this is the world after you fainted? Chen Ge's words surprised Zhangju. I haven't woken up. This is the world after I fainted. Zhangju repeated what Chen Ge had said. Then, all of this is my dream. All of you are figments of my imagination. Quote. Figments my ass. Can't we be a little more normal? Zhou grabbed the cleaver from Zhangju's hand. I don't know about other people, but I'm not the person in your dream. I'll keep the cleaver for you so that you won't have to experiment on it later. Zhou felt like he was the only normal person in this club, so it was safer for him to hold the weapon himself. Zhangju's words are not completely unreasonable, but there is one thing he's wrong about. This world is not just his own dream but a collection of many people's negative emotions and despairing experiences to form a nightmare. Chen Ge's eyes scanned the faces of all the club members. You're all trapped in this world, and this world was created by your own hands. After Chen Ge finished speaking, the forest became extremely quiet. Everyone looked at him, and the expressions on their faces were very interesting. I know you might not be able to accept it for now, but it's okay. We still have time. Chen Ge carried Wang Yicheng and looked at the wall. After Wang Yicheng's memory awakened, he attracted the manager. Now, Zhangju, your memory is loosening as well. The manager might come, so we need to leave as soon as possible. Chen Ge turned around and walked out of the forest. Wait. Zhangju's hands gripped the red dirt on the ground. He slowly raised his head and stared at Chen Ge. Who are you? Why are you telling us this? Quote. Who I am isn't important. What's important is that I can help you escape from this place. Your family in the real world has been waiting for too long. Chen Ge had a smile on his face. Actually, I'm very similar to you. I've also lost a part of my childhood memory, so when I met you, I felt like I was seeing my old self. Waving, Chen Ge walked away. You're lucky to have met me. Back then, I had no one to guide me, and I fumbled around in the dark alone. I've lost too many things. Chen Ge sighed. He led the club members away from the lab and staff dormitories and followed the path to the education block. The toilet on the top floor of the education block. The answer I'm looking for should be here. The education block on the western campus was eerie and quiet, but the education block on the eastern campus was creepy. Once one got close, a chill would crawl up one's back and rush to one's brain. Be quiet. If something happens here, the consequences will be very serious, Chen Ge whispered. What consequences? Zhou's forehead was covered in sweat. He held the cleaver that he had taken out from the tree hole. His back was hunched, and his eyes looked around. He looked very nervous. The eastern campus is filled with trash that the western campus doesn't want. How do we deal with trash in our daily lives? Chen Ge maintained the smile on his face, but what he said caused the few members to suck in a cold breath. After we're captured, we'll be stripped of our useful parts and then discarded after we've been drained of all our value. Dying here is truly a luxury. There was no turning back. Chen Ge was the first to enter the education block on the eastern campus. Perhaps it was his imagination, but the eastern campus was darker than the western campus at night. Stepping on the old steps, the banister had burn marks on it, and the sound of chairs and tables moving could be heard in the empty classroom. This place is so scary. I can't believe it's just a wall away from us. Zhu Long lowered his voice. He walked at the back of the group. Shush, don't speak. Zhou Tu held the cleaver and followed behind Zhongju. He was afraid that the scarred student would suddenly act up and hurt him. The more you worried about something, the more likely it was to happen. Zhou Tu kept his eyes on Zhongju, and the latter suddenly stopped. What's wrong? It's nothing. I'm just curious. Why are there so many doctors' pictures on the education block's corridors? Zhongju raised his head to look at the doctors on the wall. We're not a medical university, and these doctors don't seem to be famous. Many of them don't even have a profile, just a working picture in a white coat. By the way, did you notice that these pictures are all working pictures? Quote. Zhongju's words attracted Chen Ge's attention. He had felt that these pictures were weird, but he could not figure out why. Now that Zhongju mentioned it, he suddenly thought of a possibility. The world behind the door is woven from the door pusher's memory. This school is very unique, and it contains the memory of all the students. The pictures of the doctors on the wall might be people that the students have met in real life. Chen Ge pressed lightly on Zhongju's shoulder. Pay attention to these pictures and see if there are any doctors that you know. The doctors on the wall are the best of the best. How would I know them? Here, doctors might have a special meaning. Just do as I say. Chen Ge led the club members up the stairs. When they passed the third floor, he suddenly stopped. Don't move. There's someone up ahead. The classroom on the third floor that was closest to the corridor was not locked, and the low-quality wooden door creaked noisily in the wind. Chen Ge's group stood in the corridor without moving. After a while, a shadow walked out from the classroom. This body looks familiar. Is it Chong Ji Yu? The shadow's build was similar to Chong Gu's, but it was agile. It did not look like a person who was almost blind. Chen Ge did not dare go out recklessly. He wanted to continue observing, but the shadow ran down the corridor like it was looking for something. Is that Chong Ji Yu? Have his eyes returned to normal? Quote. The education block was dark. Even with his yin-yang vision, Chen Ge still moved carefully. Sir, is that someone you know? Should we follow him? Quote. It's better to avoid unnecessary trouble. We'll go to the top floor first. Chen Ge kept his eyes on the shadow. The shadow did not leave but entered another classroom. There were other people in the education block at night, and Chen Ge did not know whether this was a good thing or a bad thing. The group came to the fourth floor. The toilet was on the other side of the corridor, and they had to cross the long corridor to reach it. No matter what you hear, do not answer. No matter what you see, do not leave the group, understand? Chen Ge reminded the club members before carrying Wang Yicheng into the corridor. He lowered his body and used the corner of his eyes to scan the classrooms on both sides. It was dark inside the windows, and he could not see anything. The club members followed behind Chen Ge. They tried their best not to look around, but the more they told themselves not to look, the more their eyes wandered. What is that? The classrooms here appeared to have not been cleaned for a long time. When Zhou Tu passed one of the windows, he saw strands of something that looked like hair under the window frame. It gave the impression that there was a girl leaning against the window. Could it really be a person? Zhou Tu stood on his tiptoes. He maintained his walking posture and tilted his head slightly to look down the window. Hair is moving. Before Zhou Tu could get a clear look, his body suddenly knocked into something. Caught off guard, he lost his grip on the cleaver, and the rusty cleaver fell to the ground. The rusty cleaver clanked against the floor tiles. In the middle of the night, the sound was strangely piercing. Everyone stopped moving, and Chen Ge turned to Zhou Tu. What are you doing? I accidentally ran into Zhongju. Zhou Tu pinched his nose and pointed at Zhongju, who was standing where he was. He noticed the strange expression on Zhongju's face. Why did you suddenly stop? Zhongju did not answer. He lifted his head to look at the picture on the wall. His mouth fell open, and his pupils narrowed. Zhang. No matter how the people around shouted, Zhang did not respond. He stared at the picture on the wall, and there was a trace of sadness in his calm eyes. He was a different man than he had been when he'd seen the knife that had killed the girl in the woods. He didn't scream crazily, nor did he mutilate himself to alleviate the mental pain. He just stood quietly in front of the picture. This doctor, I've seen him before. His voice was so soft that only the people around him could hear him. The fire burned 1/5 of my skin. I watched as my flesh was burnt, and I smelled the stench coming from my own body. My eyes melted, and my eyelids stuck together. My world fell into darkness. I was sent to the hospital. It was so painful that I couldn't feel the pain. I couldn't open my eyes, and my nose was burned away. 2/3 of one ear was left, and 1/3 of the other was left. I became a monster. I couldn't see myself, but I knew I was no longer me. I couldn't go back and live like a human. Have you tried using 2/3 of your ears to listen to your family's voice? Someone is saving me. I can feel my body getting more and more painful. I'm getting closer and closer to life, but how do I wake up? My eyes were sliced open by something cold, and they were being cleaned bit by bit. My left eye was removed, and I could see a gray world through my right eye. I can't feel light, and the world that my right eye sees is only shadows. Tell me, do you think I should continue to live? Zhang's hands pressed against the picture on the wall. His face was bleeding, and small blood vessels poked out from under his skin. They looked like surgical stitches. I know this doctor. He's been with me for a week. Death wants to take my life, and he's making a bet with death. His voice became hoarser. Zhang's throat felt like it had been burned by fire, and his appearance was changing. Scars and blood vessels spread across his face. His ears started to wilt like a flower, and the eyelid of his left eye started to melt. I didn't say a word to him, but I have a deep impression of him. In the last moments of my life, he was one of the 3 people who accompanied me. The guilt toward the dead unlocked the lock in Zhang's memory, and the doctor who had once saved him made the originally blurry memory clearer. The pieces of memory in his mind were pieced together, and blood vessels leaked out from under his skin like a wound that had already healed was being torn open again. The blood vessels condensed into droplets and dripped on Zhang's shirt. His shirt was slowly turning red. If you were in the same situation as me, would you choose to live or die? Half-red specter. After recovering their memory, a ghost will return to their original appearance. Could it be that the female ghost in the tree hole can't maintain her human form because her memory hasn't been completely wiped? Chen Ge's eyelids twitched, but his reaction was much better than the other members. Zhou Tu did not even bother to pick up the cleaver. He grabbed Zhu Long's arm, and the 2 of them retreated 3 meters away. No one answered. Zhang's eyes slowly moved away from the picture. He looked at Chen Ge. I remember who I am. Now, can you tell me who you are? The 2 stood in the dark corridor and looked at each other. You've asked me this question before, and I've given you the answer. Chen Ge stood where he was and did not take a step back. We're the same. I want to recover my lost memory. Helping you is helping myself. You're lying. Zhang reached out to grab Chen Ge, but just as his fingers were about to touch Chen Ge, he stopped. Why did you stop? Chen Ge took 1 step forward. He leaned close to Zhang's despairing face. Are you afraid that after you kill me, the other me will rise from the dead body? Are you afraid of the me in the red specter? Quote. His hands gripped Zhang's shoulders. The expression on Chen Ge's face was crazed. His hands moved around Zhang's shoulders before slowly lifting Zhang's face and lightly touching the man's forehead. Kill me. Do you dare? Quote. Not only Zhang, even Zhou Tu and Zhu Long, who were hiding behind him, were spooked. The corridor was silent. After a long time, Chen Ge let go of Zhang. He looked at the other members in the corridor. I just want to find my lost memory. If you help me, you're helping yourselves, and vice versa. Welcome to Fanfic Audiobook, your go-to place for immersive audiobooks. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. Zhang had noticed early on that Chen Ge was not a normal person. No matter what he saw, his eyes would remain calm like nothing in the world could surprise him. Honestly, he was afraid of people like that, but it was because of that fear that he chose to follow and listen to him. Standing before the picture, Zhang opened his remaining right eye. He stared silently at Chen Ge's face. He had a normal face, a face that could not be picked out in a crowd, but it was a person like that who had accidentally revealed an expression that even he was afraid of. It was hard to describe. It was like a combination of a vengeful ghost and a madman. From that face, one could see madness, sickness, and cruelty, but there was no fear or fear. Zhang Ju knew what he looked like. He had always thought he was a scary monster, but what Chen Ge did earlier made him realize that there was a monster, scarier than him in this world. Yes, we should be the same kind of person. He believed Chen Ge because that kind of expression could only be found in someone who had been through hell. Like him, the man had forgotten the past. I'm sorry, Mr. Bai. I was reminded of some very unpleasant memories, and that is why I lost control. Zhang Ju's voice was harsh and grating, but his attitude was much better. It's fine. Why would a teacher blame a student? Chen Ge had a smile on his face. He gave off a kind and gentle feeling. It was hard to believe that it was him who had been talking to Zhang Ju earlier. What did you remember? Don't worry, tell me everything. Quote. Actually, it's nothing. They're just some painful memories. The wounds on Zhang Ju's body were still leaking blood, and his clothes were slowly dyed red. I was reminded of myself when I witnessed a murder. I was weak and cowardly. I remembered the feeling of fire burning my skin, like needles piercing into my flesh until I couldn't feel the pain anymore. I also remembered how I struggled in the sterile room. Despair took root in my heart. I didn't want to die, but I didn't know how to live. Then at the end of your life, did anything special happen to you or around you? Zhang Ju had appeared in the world behind the door, but at the time, he had lost the ability to push open the door. Chen Ge was curious about how he had entered the school. Only by knowing how he had entered would he have a chance to deduce the escape route. In a 3-star scenario, the door was the only entrance, but a 4-star scenario was slightly different. The last stage of my life, Zhang Ju reached out to touch his face. I seem to have fallen into a coma, but I can sense the outside world. I cannot tell the difference between reality and nightmare, but I remember one thing very clearly. Every night, at night, a door would appear inside the sick room. Door. I stayed in the hospital for 7 days, and the door would appear every night. It got closer and closer to me until it reached my bedside. Zhang Ju raised his head, and his face was covered in blood. That is a moving door. The more I am afraid, the more despair I feel, the closer it will get to me. I could not call for help, and on the 8th night, the door was pushed open from the inside. Many hands reached out from the gap and pulled me in. Quote. Zhang Ju's description was similar to what had happened to Chang Ji Yu. They had both encountered a door that could move on its own. Every night, the door would slowly approach the sleeping person. It would stand next to the bed, and the door would be pushed open from the inside to take away the living person in the bed. Is this school behind the door? Chen Ge was more curious about what happened next. He wanted to know how Zhang Ju lost his memory and how this student, who had been ruined in the fire, slowly became a half-red specter. Zhang Ju shook his head. I had a dream, a very real dream. In the dream, they all called me Lin Sisi. I kept telling them that my name was Zhang Ju, and they got the wrong person, but they thought I was joking. No one believed me. I could only use the name Lin Sisi to live in the dream and experience everything that Lin Sisi had been through. After some time, even I started to question whether my name was Lin Sisi or not. Being bullied, abused, ignored, that was not a good feeling, but when I thought about it, I had become a monster in real life, so living in the dream was not bad. Zhang Ju's voice was calm like he was telling someone else's story. I had no friends, and the whole world hated me. The mental and physical torture slowly numbed me until one day, a girl walked into my dream. It was a rainy day, and someone stuffed a frog into my deskmate's bag. She suspected that it was me, but why would I do something so pointless? No one listened to my explanation. The students chased me out of the classroom, and everyone in the corridor looked at me strangely. I had no choice but to escape to the rooftop of the education block. There, I met her. Even though I knew it was a dream, I still felt that the girl was very special. Zhang Ju's voice changed. Her name was Chang Wenyu, and she was the only one who did not ignore me. I told her about my pain, and she expressed her understanding. Then, I told her about my past and told her that I was not Lin Sisi. She's very interested in what I'm talking about, and I like spending time with her, because only when I'm with her can I not forget myself and not be assimilated by that dream. We would meet every night on the rooftop, and I slowly felt like I could not leave her. Just as I thought my life was starting to gain color, she suddenly asked me a question: "Do you want to see the scenery outside the school?" At the time, I did not understand the meaning of that question. I just wanted to be with her, so I nodded. That night, after midnight, she took me to the library. The door to the library was locked. We climbed through the window and found a mirror behind a bookshelf on the third floor. The mirror was very big, and the girl said that the mirror could be used a few more times. She told me not to tell anyone else. I trusted her, and at the same time, I was reminded of something. This was the first time I had seen a mirror in a dream. I asked the girl what I should do. The girl only told me to look at the mirror quietly. I stood before the mirror, and she hid behind me. In the dead of night, I looked at myself in the mirror. The more I looked, the more I realized that the person in the mirror did not look like me. Slowly, my reflection started to bleed, and scars started to appear on the face of the person in the mirror. His ears withered, his left eye closed, and his face was a mess of flesh and blood. I did not dare to look anymore, but when I wanted to leave, the monster in the mirror grabbed hold of me. Blood flowed on the surface of the mirror until the whole mirror was dyed red. I screamed for help and turned to look at Chong Wenyu, but she did not move. Even now, I remember the last thing she said to me: "Why should I be afraid? The you in the mirror is the real you." Single quote. Her slender fingers pressed lightly on my left eye, and she slowly plucked it out. The world instantly lost its color, and I was dragged away by the monster in the mirror. All the good memories turned into the worst curse in that moment. Chong Wenyu took out my left eye, and I became the same as the monster in the mirror. She shattered all my illusions. I am not Lin Cece but Zhongju. The monster in the mirror is me. Blood leaked out from the wound, and Zhongju's shirt was half dyed red. The scariest thing was that the blood vessels on his shirt intertwined and grew in number. Initially, Chen Ge thought that Zhongju was a half-red specter, but he soon realized that he had underestimated the man. As his memory was awakened, the blood on Zhongju's body increased until it almost dyed his whole body red. I was dragged into the mirror, and I saw Chong Wenyu standing outside the mirror. She pinched my left eye, and her lips opened and closed like she was saying, "One more." My left eye slowly changed in her hands. My life's memory flashed across the pupil. When she took away my left eye, she also took away all my hope and happiness. Drip, drip. Zhongju's blood dripped down the corridor. Footsteps came from the education block, but no matter which direction he looked, there was no one coming. What kind of world is behind the mirror? Chen Ge asked softly. Red, there is only red. Everything is red. Zhongju's description reminded Chen Ge of the scenario behind the 3-star trial mission door. Then, how did you return from there? There was another me in the mirror. He was covered in blood, and he wanted to eat me. I did not have time to think and could only run. After running for a long time, I realized that there was another school behind the mirror. It was empty, or at least, that was how it looked on the surface. Quote. What happened next? I did not survive the first night, and I was captured by the other me behind the mirror. Confusion appeared in Zhongju's eyes. In my memory, he killed me, but when I opened my eyes again, I had returned to this school and lost most of my memory. I had become a member of this school. In other words, your memory was tampered with after your death. You can interpret it that way. I have no idea what happened in between. If you want to find out, you'll have to go to the red world inside the mirror. Zhongju was probably not lying. Even though he looked scary, his expression was serious. I think I understand. Chen Ge whispered, normally speaking, the door is the only way to enter the blood world, but there is a baleful specter that is beyond our imagination in this scenario. He might be a greater red specter. This thing used the mirror as a medium to create another scenario in the blood world, which is the school that we are currently at. Do you understand what I'm saying? All the club members present shook their heads. Let me give you a very simple example. After opening this door, we enter the blood red world. In this blood red world, we found another mirror. When we touched the mirror, we entered the world inside the mirror. Quote. If we use the analogy of dreaming, it should be easy to understand. Normal people live in reality. After they fall asleep and dream, their thoughts will appear in the dream world. But what will happen if we dream in the dream world? Our consciousness appears in a dream within a dream. Quote. The blood red world is made up of despair and negative emotions, and the world behind the mirror is more like a dream created by the door pusher. Chen Ge tried his best to explain everything to the students, but he did manage to figure out a very important problem. When he woke up, he had lost contact with all his employees, and the black phone was not with him. This put him in a very dangerous situation. He could not understand how the school owner managed to do it. The black phone aside, his shadow was hiding Zhang Ya, but at that moment, his shadow was very normal, and Zhang Ya was not inside it. From this point, it could be seen that he did not enter this school with his real body. Just like Zhang Ju had said, when he looked into the mirror, there was another him. One was gentle and kind, and the other was cruel and bloodthirsty. The combination of the two was the real him. I should have encountered the same problem as Zhang Ju. Part of my personality is inside the mirror, and the other is outside the mirror. This was all Chen Ge's deduction, and he could not guarantee that it was 100% correct. It was like he was walking in a fog, and the only light in the world was himself. The mirror that Chang Wenyu used is in the library. After looking at the toilet, we'll go to the library next, Chen Ge said. That's a place that everyone avoids. Why do you want to go there yourself? Zhang Ju could not understand Chen Ge. His memory had just awakened, and many memories floated in his mind. His eyes were glazed over. Compared to this place, I prefer the blood-red world because it feels more real. From what Chen Ge said, it was obvious that he was not a normal person. Zhang Ju thought about it and did not object. Perfect. I also want to know what happened to me. Theoretically speaking, shouldn't I be dead? After getting the confirmation from Zhang Ju, Chen Ge's expression lightened. He had found a good helper. Come on, let's go take a look at the toilet first. Chen Ge's group had been standing in the corridor for a long time. Thankfully, nothing strange had happened in the education block. Zhang Ju's blood dripped to the ground, and with the sound of dripping, they could hear the approaching footsteps, but strangely enough, they only heard the footsteps and did not see anyone. Zhu Long, did you see the change to Zhang Ju? His face is too scary. Zhou Tu did not dare get too close to Zhang Ju and Chen Ge. He felt like they were both crazy. At this point, we can only trust Mr. Bai. Doesn't the change to Zhang Ju prove that he is not lying to us? We are trying to recover our lost memories. Zhu Long did not look so good. He gritted his teeth, and his fingers that gripped the phone were white. Fine. Zhou Tu turned to look behind him. He was spooked and did not dare go back alone. I must have lost my mind to join a club like this. He steeled his heart and lowered his head to pick up the cleaver on the ground. However, the moment he lowered his head and his vision turned upside down, he saw that there were many human heads staring at him from the corridor behind him. No. To be more precise, those inverted heads were staring at Zhang Ju and Wang Yicheng, who was on Chen Ge's back. Zhou Tu almost knelt to the ground. Thankfully, Zhu Long caught him. What's wrong? There are people behind us. There are many people following us. Zhou Tu's voice was shaking. What? Zhu Long turned back to look. There were only the few of them in the empty corridor. Are you hallucinating? Zhu Long pulled Zhou Tu, and the two looked behind them. It was dark. They could hear footsteps, but they could not see any living people. Where are they? I saw them when I was picking up the cleaver earlier. They were all standing upside down behind us like they were living in a different world. Zhou Tu was still shaken. Those people have been staring at Zhang Ju and Wang Yicheng. Should we tell Mr. Bai? That's a good idea. Zhu Long looked behind him with confusion. Zhou Tu did not look like he was lying. While the two were stunned, Chen Ge and Zhang Ju had reached the middle of the corridor. The closer they got to the toilet, the more nervous they became. Mr. Bai, earlier, Zhou Tu saw people following us. They were all standing upside down. I don't know what to say. Never mind, you should ask Zhou Tu. Zhu Long pulled Zhou Tu to Chen Ge's side. When I lowered my head to pick up the cleaver earlier, I saw people behind us. They were floating in the air with their heads facing downward. No, they looked like they were walking on the ceiling. Those people should have been attracted by Zhang Ju and Wang Yicheng. I saw them with my own eyes. Those upside-down monsters kept staring at Zhang Ju and Wang Yicheng. Zhou Tu did not want to get close to Zhang Ju. This was an instinctive disgust. Upside-down people. Chen Ge had seen those people in the lab before. Let's go take a look at the toilet first to confirm whether the door is there or not. If there's nothing there, we'll leave immediately. This school was too strange. Even with the protection of a red specter, it did not give Chen Ge a sense of security. Picking up his pace, when Chen Ge was several steps away from the toilet, his neck was suddenly gripped by a pair of hands. Too cold, thin arms locked around his neck. The person was slowly exerting force, and Chen Ge's breathing became difficult. Wang Yicheng, you're awake. Chen Ge turned to look. Wang Yicheng's head was resting on his shoulder, and his eyes were bloodshot. He seemed to be fighting something in his heart. Don't go in. They're inside. The voice that came out of Wang Yicheng's mouth was very different from his usual voice. It was filled with regret, and it felt like a wounded stray dog protecting its companion's body while allowing others to beat it. Them. Who are they? Quote, classmate, senior, everyone who hates you is in there. Don't go. I've already told the teacher. Wang Yicheng tried his best to squeeze out a smile, but he couldn't. Did you hit this kid until he became stupid? What nonsense are you babbling about? Zhu Long held the pink phone and quietly moved to Chen Ge's side. The atmosphere in the school building was too stifling. Only by staying by Chen Ge's side could he feel a trace of peace. Wang Yicheng, did you remember something? Wang Yicheng's memory had been triggered at the entrance of the Western campus's toilet. At the time, Chen Ge had been worried that his identity would be exposed, so he had knocked him out. Even though he had woken up, there was a trace of confusion in his mind. They asked me to trick you into going in. I didn't agree, so they beat me and made me limp up the stairs. I listened to them, but they still didn't want to let you go. Remember, no matter who asks you to go to the toilet on the top floor of the teaching building, don't go. Don't go there. Wang Yicheng's voice was weak, and his body seemed to be extremely weak. Other than you, did they find someone else to trick Lin Sisi? I don't know, but I've already told the teacher everything. Why hasn't he come? Wang Yicheng was panicking. His only hope was the teacher, but the teacher did not appear. Perhaps the teacher hated Lin Sisi a lot as well. It's fine. I'm just going to take a look. Don't go there. Don't go there. Wang Yicheng had mistaken Chen Ge for Lin Sisi, and those were his real thoughts. It was obvious that he was feeling guilty and wanted to make it up to him. He was already at the door, so it was impossible for Chen Ge to give up. Furthermore, he had Zhang Ju's help, and this half-red specter who was still getting stronger was one of Chen Ge's trump cards. Wang Yicheng's arms tightened, and the veins on his arms popped. The boy was trying his best to stop Chen Ge from going in. He probably did not want to see the tragedy repeat itself before his eyes. The toilet on the top floor of the education block was at the end of the corridor. There was a pungent smell of disinfectant in the air. There were yellowish-brown stains on the wall, and there were water stains and footprints on the ground. The footprints came from many different people. The toilet door was locked. Chen Ge took out the tools to force it open. When he pushed open the wooden door, Chen Ge took a step back and carefully looked into the toilet. The toilet on the eastern campus looked completely different from the one on the western campus. It was dirty and messy, like the place had been forgotten by the school and had never been cleaned. Has this toilet been locked ever since the incident with Lin Sisi? Chen Ge turned around to ask Wang Yicheng. The boy could not speak, and his body was shaking like he was sick. Compared to the western campus, this toilet felt more real to Chen Ge. He carried Wang Yicheng into it. Once he stepped into the toilet, Wang Yicheng closed his eyes. He did not dare look or remember. This room gives me a different feeling from the others. Zhang Ju looked around. The walls were crawling with things that looked like blood vessels. They covered the whole toilet like cracks. The faces on the walls were blurry, like they were memories that were about to be forgotten. The dried blood vessels crawled over all the pictures on the walls and wrapped around them like they did not want to see them anymore. Walking to the door of the first cubicle, Chen Ge took out Lin Sisi's phone and poked it into the gap. There were several shadows moving on the screen. Who's inside? Chen Ge pushed the cubicle door open, and what he saw surprised him. There was a mannequin inside the first cubicle. He was wearing a pair of black leather shoes, and he was about 30 to 40. He looked like Mr. Bai, whom Chen Ge had met before. The toilet on the western campus has a pair of shoes, and the first cubicle on the eastern campus has a mannequin. Why is there such a difference? Mr. Bai's mannequin had his head lowered, and his hands were behind his head. He stood upright like he had done something wrong. Chen Ge could not see anything wrong with his yin-yang vision. In the end, he took out Lin Sisi's phone and aimed it at the first cubicle. The image that appeared on the screen surprised him. Mr. Bai's mannequin stood inside the cubicle, but the image that the phone captured was of a faceless boy. His hands were behind his head, and he was in the same pose as Mr. Bai. Could this faceless boy be Lin Cece? Did Mr. Bai punish him like this? Is that why he is using the same method to deal with Mr. Bai? Quote. Ideographic period. Chen Ge pushed open the second cubicle, and inside it was a thin male mannequin. One of his legs was deformed, and he was curled up inside the cubicle. Mud and trash littered the space around him. He looks like Wang Yicheng. The mannequin in the second cubicle and Wang Yicheng, who Chen Ge was carrying, were both wearing blue running shoes. This mannequin should be Wang Yicheng. Chen Ge raised his phone to aim at the second cubicle, and the image on the screen was heart-wrenching. The faceless child was forced into the cubicle by a group of people, and they tossed all kinds of trash at him. The boy in the picture did not resist and allowed them to bully him. The mannequin in the third cubicle was wearing a pair of glasses. He was splashed with red paint, and he stood blankly against the wall of the cubicle. This mannequin looked similar to the tall and thin boy that Chen Ge had encountered in room 413. With his previous experience, Chen Ge aimed the phone directly at the cubicle. A faceless boy appeared on the screen. He stood alone inside the cubicle, and people around him kept splashing paint into the cubicle. His originally clean shirt was dirtied, and the paint slid down the edge of his shirt. The boy had his head lowered, and he did not say a word. These bullies have lost control of their group. Chen Ge pushed open the door of the fourth cubicle. The mannequin inside was not wearing any clothes, and the wet clothes were left next to the toilet. Chen Ge took out his phone and aimed at the fourth cubicle. In the picture, the faceless boy slowly took off his shirt that was covered in paint, and someone poured bottles of water over him. The fifth cubicle, the sixth cubicle. The scene inside each cubicle was shocking. When people were in the throes of madness, they would not realize how bad their behavior was. They would unscrupulously vent all their negative emotions on a single person. When he opened the first cubicle, Chen Ge only wanted to find the truth. Everything here had nothing to do with him. He was just a passerby, a victim who wanted to escape. However, after looking through 6 cubicles in a row, his heart had already unknowingly changed. His face was gloomy, and if someone who was familiar with him saw it, they would definitely be surprised, because this man rarely showed such an expression. The change in one's expression was the change in one's inner emotions. If it was shown on one's face, one's inner thoughts would be exposed, and one's weakness would be exposed. Therefore, when Chen Ge was carrying out the Black Phone's mission, he always maintained his composure. Is this still a child? Raising his head, Chen Ge looked at the 7th cubicle. This was the only cubicle without a mannequin, and it was also the only cubicle without a door. The door hinge had been destroyed by brute force, and there were still bits of broken wood at the joint. The door of the 7th cubicle had been knocked open by someone. The door had disappeared, and the inside of the cubicle was crawling with things that looked like blood vessels. To be more precise, the blood vessels in the toilet had actually crawled out from this cubicle. The 7th cubicle was the source of all the blood. Was Lin Cece locked in this cubicle? The black and red blood vessels were like dead creepers. They crawled all over the walls of the cubicle like they were trying to hide something. Chen Ge took out Lin Cece's phone. He adjusted the brightness to the brightest and aimed it at the cubicle to record. The faceless boy hugged his shirt and pants. Dirty water and paint slid down his body. They were colorful, and they looked like a monster crawling on his body. On the screen, the cubicle door appeared to be blocked by something from the outside. The boy had his head lowered, hugging his clothes, and slammed into the door again and again. He had no face, so his expression could not be seen. His voice could not be heard, and it was impossible to tell whether he was crying or calling for help. All Chen Ge could see was the boy banging against the door until the door was pushed open. He stood barefooted at the cubicle door, holding his clothes that were splashed with paint and dirty water. His arms were dangling. The arms that he had used to slam into the door were cut by the wooden splinters. Blood flowed on his arms, and the paint flowed into the wounds. Suffocating, uncomfortable, and breathless, his neck twisted, and the featureless face scanned the empty toilet. The culprits had left, but their malicious words still echoed inside the toilet. The boy stood at the cubicle door for a long time. He slowly raised his hands and put on the wet clothes one by one. Other than his arms, there was no other injury on his body, but his body kept shaking from pain. The middle of his pants had been cut open, and there was a large hole in the back of his shirt. The boy put on all his clothes, and the water on the ground reflected a ghastly monster. He wiped his face and tried to take a step toward the toilet door. The light from the corridor filtered into the toilet, and the exit was very bright. It was bright enough to illuminate the boy's appearance, so bright that he had nowhere to run. He pulled back his feet. Wearing the dirty clothes, he returned to the 7th cubicle. Leaning against the wall of the cubicle, the boy's body slowly slid down. He curled up in the corner, and the featureless face faced the toilet door like he was waiting for the lights to go out. The picture on the phone did not end there. The boy looked at it for a long time before raising his head. The featureless face faced Chen Ge like he knew someone was looking at him. "Are you willing to be my friend?" This question echoed in Chen Ge's ears. He heard it very clearly, but when he turned to look in the direction the voice came from, there was nothing there. It came from the phone. That's impossible. The picture stopped at the last scene. The faceless boy curled up in the corner, and his face faced Chen Ge like he was waiting for Chen Ge's answer. "I'm willing to be your friend, even though your words sound like a curse." Chen Ge did not care about curses. His life had been changed by a cursed love letter. Without that love letter, he would have been chopped into pieces by Wang Qi during his first mission. Chen Ge agreed, but the boy on the phone was still frozen in that pose. Moving the phone away, there was nothing inside the 7th cubicle, but using the phone, he could see the faceless boy clearly. "Can you hear me?" Chen Ge tried to communicate with the boy, but it was to no avail. He waited for a while, and the picture on the phone changed again. The door of the 7th cubicle was pushed open, and a blood-red hand reached in. The hand grabbed the faceless boy lightly. He seemed to say something to the boy, and the faceless boy nodded lightly. Then, the faceless boy was led by the hand toward the other side of the door, and disappeared. The bloody hand reached out from the door. What did he say to the boy? Chen Ge was suddenly reminded of the sentence that he had heard earlier. The blood hand's owner said to the faceless boy, "Could it be, are you willing to be my friend?" The faceless boy said yes, and then he disappeared. Chen Ge analyzed the situation carefully. The faceless boy was Lin Cece. He did not push the door open, but the bloody hand had reached out from inside the door. In other words, there was already a door inside the cubicle. The blood hand's owner had invited Lin Cece, and in the end, Lin Cece had agreed. In that case, the bloody hand was the real door pusher. After so many twists and turns, Chen Ge finally found the real owner of the school of the afterlife. Even though he had only seen one of the owner's hands, this was a big improvement for Chen Ge. "Earlier, I heard someone ask in my ear, 'Are you willing to be my friend?' The question did not come from the phone. I heard it clearly. It came from next to my ear." His words might not have been directed at Lin Cece, but at me. Chen Ge turned back to look. The black and red blood vessels in the cubicle had started to fall like leaves in autumn, and they had lost their vitality. "Did you promise him?" Wang Yicheng, who had his eyes closed on Chen Ge's back, suddenly spoke. He buried his head in Chen Ge's shoulder. His voice was so soft that one could not hear him without paying close attention. "You can say that. He looks so pitiful." Chen Ge's neck was strangled by Wang Yicheng. Their bodies were pressed together, and he could feel Wang Yicheng's body temperature dropping. "His friends are all dead, all of them." The sound of dripping came from behind Chen Ge. He felt his shoulder getting wet. He turned to look, and his left shoulder was soaked in blood. That bright red color was somewhat dazzling to the eyes. "You," Chen Ge tossed Wang Yicheng off his back. The boy's hands waved helplessly as he scratched at the air. Tears of blood leaked out from his closed eyes. "Are you remembering something?" Revisiting this place, Wang Yicheng's memory was triggered. He had not opened his eyes, but when he heard what Chen Ge said, he realized what had happened. "You can't run anymore. You promised that person, and he will come to find you. No matter where you go, he will find you." Wang Yicheng's voice changed drastically. He had sunk into madness, completely different from the cowardice that he had shown earlier. "Even if he doesn't come to find me, I will go find him. I like to make friends, in many ways. Chen Ge has a lot of friends, but they are not by his side, so he also wants to meet some new friends." The blood that leaked out from Wang Yicheng's eyes slid down his cheeks. His shirt was dyed red, and the fresh blood bloomed like flowers on his skin. This boy that looked so weak had the potential to become a red specter. "I'm getting more and more interested in the owner of this school. How did he get all of you into the school one by one?" Chen Ge did not expect the few club members that he had randomly found to be so special. Of course, luck played a part in that, but from another perspective, it showed how scary the school of the afterlife was. A half-red specter was enough to support a normal 2-star scenario, but at the School of the Afterlife, Chen Ge had seen quite a few red specters and suspected red specters. Are you constantly joking to hide the panic in your heart? Hearing Wang Yicheng say that, Chen Ge was certain that the man had recovered his memory. The old Wang Yicheng was cowardly and would never say anything. He would only follow orders. I'm not joking. To have the despair to push open the door, there must have been hope, even if that hope has been crushed long ago. I want to help him from the bottom of my heart. Being his friend is just the first step. Chen Ge carried Wang Yicheng out of the toilet. Have you realized that most of the children at this school have a twisted childhood, or they are born with a physical defect, or their personalities are twisted due to external factors? Each of them has their own unforgettable memory. What are you trying to say? I'm curious what the owner has been through. As the door pusher, what kind of experience has made him push open this door? If you agree to be his friend, you'll be forced to stay forever. This school wasn't so big before. The constant addition of despair and pain caused it to become what it is now. After Wang Yicheng said that, his eyes stopped bleeding, but his body was still shaking. Looks like you know a lot of things. Chen Ge felt like this school was similar to his haunted house, but the School of the Afterlife kept searching for the despairing students, or rather, it was attracting the despairing students, but Chen Ge's haunted house welcomed them. This school has existed for many years, right? All I can remember is that when I opened my eyes, I was already here. I do not have Zhongju's experience. I died at this school and was reborn here. I have forgotten many things, but I know that this school has been expanding. Quote. Why are you here? Is this Lin Cici's punishment for you? Chen Ge asked another question that he was curious about. Wang Yicheng paused for a long time before saying, I am the only person that Lin Cici has spared. The reason I am here is because after Lin Cici disappeared, I became his replacement. The fear and anxiety of the students turned into violence on me. One night, when I was about to break down, the door found me. Quote. And then, you came in. Based on what Zhongju said, when the door first appeared, it would be very far away from where you were sleeping, and then it would slowly approach you every day. Before Chen Ge finished, Wang Yicheng interrupted him. He was completely passive, but I was active. I wanted to find a corner where I could hide. Furthermore, Wang Yicheng hesitated for a long time before revealing another secret. At the time, the hand that reached out of the door was smeared with all kinds of paint. That was Lin Cici's hand. He was inviting me, and I wanted to apologize to him in person. That day, I actually reported it to the teacher, but he did not come. Quote. What else do you know about Lin Cici and this door? Nothing. After entering the door, I did not see Lin Cici. Until today, I have not seen him. Wang Yicheng let go of his hands. You can put me down. Are you sure you're not lying? Chen Ge put Wang Yicheng down. At the entrance of the Western Campus toilet, once your memory showed signs of loosening, the school's manager appeared immediately. In the end, if I did not knock you out, we would have been caught already. Your treatment is completely different from Zhongju and Zhu Long. Perhaps it's because Lin Cici is his friend, and I am Lin Cici's friend. The group walked past the 7 cubicles. This place recorded everything that had happened to Lin Cici, and the phone had probably only captured part of it. I can't imagine what the door pusher has been through. When they were about to leave the toilet, Chen Ge turned to look at the 7th cubicle. We can confirm that the door is in the 7th cubicle. To understand the owner of this school, we only need to investigate all the incidents that have happened in this school's toilet. Based on the clues that they had, Chen Ge planned to go to 3 places: the school's archive room, the school library, and the oil painting room that he had promised Zhou Tu.